When you compare voice acting in terms of movies or series or, you know, just something that you can really, you're part of that character's journey to something like games, where in World of Warcraft, vast parts or portions of the story is sort of told offline, not through you. What is that process like? Do you get a brief from Blizzard saying this is everything that's happened since the last time you played it? Or what's that process like?
I mean, basically, it's up to you to ask the questions. I'd say that a lot of the themes that the scenes deal with are pretty... you can basically take a scene and whittle it down into very, very basic wants and needs. And so when it comes down to playing the scene to get what you want, what your character wants, I mean, that's pretty universal. And so, I mean, even if you really weren't familiar with all of the lore, you could still give a really convincing performance just by playing those objectives. And then, you know, they'll tell you about the character that you're doing the scene with. However, I mean, I played WoW since before I was Anduin, so for me, it was a little bit different in that when I was doing the audition, I mean, whoever they were talking about, I don't even remember because it was years ago that I even auditioned for this, many years ago, that I had, I guess, more intimate knowledge of who they were talking about. Like whenever they were talking about a place, if they mentioned South Shore, you know, I immediately had a visual recollection of South Shore and of Terran Mill and like of all the ganking that would happen, and just the path I would take to get there. Like I immediately had this explosion of imagery in my head. So for me, it was a lot easier. And also as somebody that played the game, you know, I kept up with the lore more than somebody who wouldn't have. So I didn't necessarily need as much briefing, but of course, like people like Taryn and Christy are there to give you the rundown if you want to know more about what happened. You know, who is this person? Why is this such a problem? What is their past relationship with this person? You know, what is their beef? Or, I mean, it's on you to basically ask as many of those questions to fill in the gaps that you don't know. So that it can inform your performance.
You know Anduin on a very personal level. You've been playing him for quite some time. You've been through all of the sort of creational moments with Anduin. Let's take it to Shadowlands. For quite a while, Anduin was the goody two-shoes king, right? He did no wrong. He was almost too perfect. I said this in one of my live streams, I think 2 weeks ago. My biggest problem with Anduin has always been the fact that he is almost so perfect that he becomes unrelatable. That has now sort of been falling away.
Kind of, his perfect only goes as far as the fact that he's also kind of naive. And a lot of the stuff that he do has blown up in his face. You know, like even though he has kind of been perfect, the outcome of what he's suggested and put forward hasn't always been. You know, and he's still had to deal with that. He's still been this kid essentially brought up in like as a very, very privileged child, now thrust into like losing his father, losing pretty much like so many things that are important to him, and now having to fill those same footsteps when that's not who he is. You know, he's not this big brawly fighter. Something totally different, and so he. A lot of his struggle is very internal, and you know, I'm excited to see where all of this goes. Like it was definitely surprising to me when I saw where they were going with him in the stuff that we've seen.
What did you think when you got that script that you're now badass almost Arthas? What was going through your mind?
Crazy, man. Like but it was exciting at the same for the reasons that you're saying, because it's whenever you see somebody that's been built up like this and really done everything with like the purest intentions, and now all of a sudden there's a monkey wrench completely thrown into everything of his life. And not just decisions he's made, but I mean, I guess in this case, decisions he hasn't made. Like
basically, the decision's been removed from him now.
And again, that is even speculation on my part, because I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know what motivated that. Like, this is all a lot of those, well, all of those story points, I don't get those ahead of time either. Like, I see it
so
when I'm
Blizzard
about to...
doesn't even treat you to spoilers.
No. And I mean, they know that I'm professional and I'm not going to go and tell anybody, but they still don't tell me. I guess it's what is it, plausible deniability, where the less they tell me, the less chance there is for anything to leak out and screw up. But
man, Terran and them runs a tight ship. Holy shit!
Very tight ship. Very. I don't even know this.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't try to catch you in a sort of spoiler thing, anyways. But I did want to ask you. There's been a noted shift in Anduin, right? Going from, let's see, the last time we really spoke to Anduin or saw Anduin, we were running through the moor trying to escape. Anduin sort of saved us using the light. And there, of course, is some, why the hell was that important to the jailer? Because obviously it was. But Anduin was there still very much. You could hear the sadness in that scene as you're running through the moor and Anduin goes, so many souls lost to the moor. There's a sadness there. There's almost the voice breaking to No More Lies, where we see Anduin again, and this time fed up, right? Yeah. I'm so sick and tired of your games. What was that like, that shift? Because obviously there's a shift there. You go from playing sadness to now anger. And playing off of Patty there, did you guys play together or did you record and she record?
In that one, that was one, I think that was probably the scene that we didn't record together because of COVID, that we recorded those separately from our booths. Wow. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the way that I've always seen Anduin is that even though he kind of has this face that he puts forward and is always trying to be the real optimistic person who has, you know, the faith in the light and everything, all these things can't just happen to you without it affecting you. You know, you lose your father before the storm. He loses Will, who was kind of like his other father, who basically took care of him from the time he was born. Probably saw Will even more than his own father. So he loses Will. Like he's all the people who he's relied on. I mean, Gen is still there, but like a lot of the people who he's really relied on for mentorship and guidance are gone. And now there's with me anyway, whenever you see somebody who is super optimistic, like, you always wonder if it's out of a fear of everything going completely wrong. And so that's always kind of an undercurrent that I've imagined in Anduin. So it's not to me like something new that he's all of a sudden angry. It's that
he's now giving voice to it.
He's giving voice to it. He's not able to kind of hide it as much, and especially because of where he's at. I mean, he's sitting there in the maw. What else is there to do except think of everything that has gone and happened in your life, and what would have happened differently had I not done this? Could I have saved the people in Teldrassil? Like, there's so many other things that he now has to deal with in his own mind. Yeah. When sitting there trapped, and so I mean, after a while, like you don't really want to hear what the hell Sylvanas is saying. It's just like that's the whole thing. I love whenever I can find a place to put in sassy Anduin, and the there she is again. That I don't necessarily think started out as such a sassy line, but they liked it. They liked it when I kind of gave it that petulant tone, because you can really see that it's wearing on him, and he is still kind of just a kid when you think about it. You know, he's expected to do all of this stuff and lead an entire faction that transcends the planet, you know, and he's a kid, you know.
But my question to you would be, throughout No More Lies, right, we see Anduin starting off with the I am so sick and tired of your games, to almost bargaining, right? Do you expect me to believe that all this time, you've been fighting for justice? Was that something that you sort of got the idea as well as your lines progressed, that Anduin may have started to see some method to Sylvanas' madness, or?
Well, I think that that's something that's always been there for him. I think that one of his biggest strengths is his diplomacy and his perception into people's minds, and his perception into what people are thinking and how they act. And I mean, he grew up in a castle, basically watching all these heads of state and watching everything happen, watching the deals go down, and you know, from afar. Obviously, you know, he's a kid. He probably just, you know, it wasn't really it's not a far journey from like the side of the throne to the war room where they're discussing. He probably goes and listens, and you know, it's I think that's one of his strengths is being able to really perceive people's motivation, or at least think he can, and so I don't necessarily think that that's a new development to him. I think that whether it's experience or confidence or desperation and just having to rely on it, like he's using that more. Yeah. It's older. I mean, he's playing into his strengths more. He knows he's not a big fighter, and you know, this is what he can do. This is how he can be king.
Yeah. I obviously think we're gonna see a lot more of Dark Anduin, considering a very specific line in Shadows Rising, right at the end, where Anduin has a piece of void running into the palm of his hand. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more Sass Anduin in the future.
I hope so. Sassy Anduin.
And a bit of a dark Anduin. Swatafan, $20. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So excited you're on, Josh. Love your portrayal of Anduin.
Thank you.
How far dark or void do you think Anduin will go after being forced to serve the jailer? I don't know if that's something you can actually answer.
I mean, it's something that I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to take him. I don't know. I just don't know. I think that this direction that they've gone in is very interesting, because it is very different for Anduin. And as an actor, I always love when stuff like that kind of throws a curveball your way, because it's just more puzzle for me to play with and figure out. So yeah, I'm down for whatever they decide to go with, but I wouldn't mind if it kept going down this path. Like, it's going to be fun for me either way.
So would you actually enjoy playing a darker Anduin? Like
of course.
An evil version of Anduin?
Of course I would. Of course I would. I've been playing good guys like pretty much my whole career. So, you know, getting
playing the villain is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cabria, $20. Thank you very much. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
I have to ask, do you think Anduin will be freed from the jailer? And if so, do you think you will be able to forgive Sylvanas for what she did to him? I'm gonna ask that you sort of what you think as Anduin. So put yourself in Anduin and tell us what you think as Anduin would happen here, because I know you're not actually allowed to give anything away here.
As we just saw, like, he in the last outing that we saw with Anduin, he wasn't really thinking very much. So, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know. I hope he escapes. I hope we get back to seeing our boy, the good soldier of light that we've seen him. But I don't know, man. Again, I have no idea. I have no clue where they're gonna go with this, because it could go either way. It really could.
All right, so you're not venturing any guesses.
No, I mean, well, the other reason I don't necessarily want to venture a guess is I still want to leave my brain open to what is actually going on to it. So I don't really want to kind of commit myself too much mentally either way. But that being said, like, he's definitely going to have some, regardless of what happens, he's going to have some mental issues based on what has already happened. So I would assume there's going to be some sort of a mental change in him somehow that he's going to have to deal with, because of what he has now done. It's I don't think that's going to be easy for him to deal with. I mean, again, I don't know. Saiyan
Mark, thank you for the $5. I really fucking appreciate that. How did it feel to talk down Sylvanas for once? The moment she almost faltered before raising Shalomon, pointing towards Anduin. #big respect.
Oh, that felt great. It felt like a win. It felt like a win. Just getting that reaction out of her felt like a win.
Was that something, because you've obviously been with the character now for a while, you have to be emotionally invested in the character.
Absolutely.
To some extent.
Yeah.
So you actually felt a bit of pride.
Oh yeah,
getting that emotion out of her.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember Anduin from the time he was the snot-nosed kid I tried to attack when I was still playing Horde, and I remember seeing people comment how they thought it sucked that Anduin was going to be the king now because he's not anywhere as awesome as Varian and all that, and that made me feel probably like what Anduin felt like, where I was just like, man, they really hate my character. What the heck? And this was just like, but I read all the comments, so it's like, I would see that at all, and I'd be like, come on, man, give him a chance. He's a cool guy, and that's probably what Anduin's feeling. So yeah, I mean, when I see that, when I see him finally, even if it's just a little bit of a smidge of a hint of a win, that's a win. Yeah. That's a win because he's still going up against freaking Sylvanas. That's pretty huge.
I love the new Anduin. I think he's starting to get some depth to his character. Like I said to you at the start, it's as if there's more that can be related to now. And I'm not talking about the version of him not thinking. Literally in No More Lies, that's where I fell in love with Anduin's character. What you did there with the character, the way you and Sylvanas played off one another, or you and Patty Matson played off one another, it just deepened Anduin as a character to the point where now I'm going, wait, what's next for this? Obviously, after he frees himself from the mind control.
I mean, he's a worthy successor to Varian, just in a very different way. He's just he does it his own way, and he's really just only now being able to come into that and being able to accept that. I mean, and his way doesn't always work. Like he's dealt with the fallout of a lot of his decisions that haven't gone his way. Yeah. And I do think that a lot of him is guided by his naivete and his hope that people can be better. So we'll see what happens.
All right.